Well, good morning all. Today we're going to go a little more in depth with the metal detectors. And I've explained how the loop reads the metal, the gold, but I thought it'd be a lot easier to show you. So let me show you what I got in mind. I have sheets of styrofoam. I have some thick ones to start with because we're going to move away from the coil fairly quick. And then as we go up, we're going to get down to the 1/2-inch sheets. And each time I'm going to run the nugget over the loop, and I'll make a little mark where it starts to read. Then once I get that one marked out, then we'll put another sheet on top and we'll do it again, and we'll just keep doing it till we can no longer read the piece of gold. Piece of gold we're going to use is just about at 4 grams. This piece I found last year. Now, being my one arm is mostly titanium, I'm going to have to tape this piece to a stick because I can't get both hands close to the detector. Okay, ready to go. Okay, right there. Looks like our first beat is going to be too small. Now I'm just going to put a small spot of glue and just temporarily glue them together. I will do the second one. Had to put some tape on these because the wind was getting to blow and it just got blowing too hard, so I've relocated over here under the shed where the wind's not so bad, and I want to check, make sure nothing has changed. Nope, we're still where the marks were. Okay, we'll keep going. Well, looks like we're getting down to where it won't hardly read. Only get it on one spot, just barely. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to number these and put an arrow on this side so we know how to reorientate them. So this will be number 1, and this one's number 2. Okay, well, I'm going to cut all these out, glue them back together, and I'll be right back, see what we end up with. Okay, well, here we have the finished product, sort of. We got it roughly sanded. It looks kind of funky because I didn't start out large enough. You can see as soon as we get up against the styrofoam, it reads. The wind has really started blowing, and we got us a big old thunderstorm moving in, so I'm grabbing everything and heading for the house. Well, back in the house, and it's getting dark out there, which doesn't help the light in here, but hopefully you can see. This is basically what your loop sees under the ground. Now, one thing that did surprise me, I always knew that an eccentric loop like this one sees more of a round than the loop shape, but I didn't realize it was that far. And I'm sure if these pieces were here, it would probably pretty much be round, which is a lot more than I thought it was. That's little easier to see than it is for me to explain about the inverted cone. I'm going to pack everything up, put it in the Jeep. Let's head up the hills and talk about metal detectors up there. Oh, made it down to the river, and today I can guarantee we're going to find gold because I brought it with me. We're in a spot that, I don't know, 50 feet off the road, and this area has been worked to death, but we're not really looking for gold. We're looking for bedrock and crevices. So I can show you the different methods of operating the detector, and this place will work perfect for that. Okay, well, what do you say we get at it? 2 pieces of gold I brought today was one nice round chunky one, and I'm guessing it's probably a 2-gram piece, and a real thin flake. Almost lost it. Let me show you. Okay, hopefully you can see that one's a nice chunky piece, and this one here is a really thin flake. I'm going to be using the Minelab, and this video is not aimed at Minelabs. These are the principles that go across all metal detectors. And so, you know, it doesn't matter if it's a pulse, a VL, well, there's a little bit of difference between a pulse and a VLF, but I mean, most of this stuff is, you know, across the board, all different types of metal detectors. Okay, I'm going to take this, ground balance. Now that's the first thing you want to do, and it's extremely important, more important on VLF machines, that you have a perfect ground balance. But all your machines, first thing you should do when you turn them on is ground balance them. Now what I'm going to do is I put a piece of gold on the bedrock, and we're going to go over it at different swing speeds. Now all detectors, from my experience over the years, they all have their own sweep speed. Some of them, like the old White's 6000 DI, they had to move pretty quick. The Goldmaster, not so much. Each machine has a little different sweep speed, and you really need to find out what the optimum swing speed on your detector is, and it's as simple as doing what I'm doing right now. Okay, we got a piece of gold on there. Let's go over it with different swing speeds. Now, first thing we'll do is make sure the detector will pick it up, which it should. Okay, now, if I go over to the normal rate, you can tell it's a pretty loud target. Now, if I go over it fast, half the time you don't even get it. You go over it too slow, it gives you a double target, almost like a hot rock target. Comes in funny, goes out funny. Now if you go over at normal swing speed, it's a good, sharp signal. Now, if you leave it there, it will actually tune it out. But if you go along real quick, checking the bedrock, you're going to miss it. Now, I'm going to hold the loop up, and we're going to go over it slowly. You can hear it, but just barely. Now we'll go over at normal speed. Good sounding target. Now we go over it fast. Sounds like background noise. Now once you play with the target and figure out your optimum swing speed, the next thing you want to look at is the height. How close do you keep the loop to the ground? And for that one's easy. You want the loop right on the ground. Make sure your loop has a protective cover, but you want the loop as far down as you can go. You want it right on the ground. Just drag it on the bedrock. And that will get you as close as you can possibly get to your target. Now, another thing that you got to look at is, does your loop read off the edge? My old TDI did not. The SDC with the stock loop, I got the bigger piece now, reads great off the bottom, but it also reads really good off the side. And I'm going and by reading off the side of the loop allows you to turn the loop sideways and put it down in a crevice. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Now I've put the larger piece of gold right down in here, and if we go over this with the loop flat, there's no indication at all that there's a piece of gold down there. But now if we turn it sideways and put it down where we can go down in the crevice, obviously there's a piece of gold down there. Put it up this way, nothing. So reading off the side of the loop is a definite advantage. Now the next thing I want to talk about is your loop angle. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. The deeper the target is, the smaller your loop is. That's just the way the metal detector works. At maximum depth, you got a pretty small loop. And you want to make sure you have the deepest seeking part of the loop in the deepest part of the crevice. Now I got a crevice over here. We're going to take and put that nugget down there and see if we can find it. Now we have a crevice here that goes in at an angle, and it goes back there quite a ways. It goes back that far. And I've got that larger piece of gold down in the bottom back in there. Now let's run the detector over it. Now if we keep the detector flat and just go over this part of the crevice, you can just barely hear it, and you would probably, unless you had headphones, you'd go right on past that. Now let's turn the detector the same angle as the crevice and go over it. It's obvious there's a target in there now. Now let me see if I can get my nugget back. And we got gold. Another thing I wanted to discuss was the power source for a metal detector. All metal detectors have an optimum voltage that they operate on. And if you use regular batteries, let's say your detector is built to operate at 12 volts. That's its peak operating. Now they will all operate from like 14 to like 6, but 12 is your peak. Well, if you have regular off-the-shelf batteries, the batteries start out high. They start out like at 14 volts. And they go down at a steady decline. At this point, your detector quits operating. So as your voltage goes down, when you get to here, it shuts off, won't work. The problem is you got a section in here between, let's just say, 8 and 6 volts, where it's still operating, but it's no longer operating as designed. It's, it doesn't have enough power. So it becomes erratic, it gives you ghost targets. It reads a target one time, it doesn't read it next time. And just about the time you're ready to wrap the detector around a tree because it's driving you crazy, it goes dead because the batteries are no good. Now, rechargeable batteries, they work differently. They start out, let's say, at 14 volts. They drop down to 12 volts very quickly. And then they run really constant for a long time, and then they dive off real quick. Well, the advantage to the rechargeable is that section of time where it's driving you insane because it's not working correct is much, much shorter. Most of the time, you don't notice it before the detector goes out. So I'm a big advocate of rechargeable batteries just for that reason. And then the other, always have a backup set of batteries on you. Like my Minelab here runs on 4 C cells. I use the rechargeable C cells that came from the manufacturer, but in my pack, I got a set of just regular off-the-shelf 4 C cells to finish the day out if the detector goes bad on you. So, you take a long drive up in the hills, you forget to charge up your batteries, and you're only an hour into the day and your batteries goes dead. We've all had it happen to us, and it's not a nice feeling. So always carry a backup set. Okay, the last thing I wanted to cover was you can have the best detector in the world and you can be operating it absolutely perfect, but you still have to put the loop over gold. That's the harder thing. So don't get discouraged. It's starting out new. I can tell you from experience, it's easy to get discouraged, and I'm here to tell you it will take you a couple, 3 months going out regularly to be able to run your detector anywhere near its capabilities. But don't forget the research. Like I say, you're not going to find a thing unless you put that loop over gold. So do your research, make sure the gold in the area where you're looking is large enough for a detector to pick it up. I mean, there could be tons of gold there, but if it doesn't have enough size, detector won't pick them up. And just for an example, when we get back to the house, I'll show you a little experiment. Okay, what do you say we pack everything up, head to the house, and yeah, I'm going to do a little detecting, even though I know I'm not going to find anything. I can't stand it, so I'm going to spend about a half hour, then I'm going to head for the house. Back at the house? Nope, nothing but a couple of nails. Okay, right now I want to show you, I preach a lot on dig every target. And what I want to show you is why we dig every target. Okay, to do this, we're going to need some gold. So let's run in the house, grab some gold, and get ready. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to weigh this nugget, which is just a little bit under ½ ounce. Now, we're going to put a tray on here. We'll tear that out. And we're going to put an ounce of fine gold. We're pretty close to an ounce of fine gold there. Okay, we got our trusty Goldmaster 3. We'll turn it on. We're going to turn it up max. And we're going to take our ½ ounce piece of gold. It's reading it pretty good. I'm guessing 8 inches. Now we have our ounce of fine gold. we're an inch from the loop before it even begins to pick it up. This is why when you have an iron target, now I have here a little tiny boot tack, and we're going to put that in our hand with our fine gold, and then let's check that. Okay, we pulled it out to 4 or 5 inches. Now, let's put a nail, not a very big nail, pretty small nail, in the crevice with all this fine gold. Obviously, it's an iron target, but we're now picking that up as deep as our half-ounce nugget. So, if you have a crevice with an ounce of fine gold in it, you're not going to find it, because for some reason or other, when it's busted up like this, and I do not know why, the metal detectors will not pick it up like they will a solid nugget. Okay, now, just for the fun of it, let's try it with the SDC. Being in town and not on the ground, I have no idea how this is going to work, but let's give it a go. Now, the pulse machines got to be hooked to the ground for them to work right. So in the air, they don't work worth a darn. And then in town, the EMFs really affect these. Right now, it's not too bad, so let's give it a go. Our half-ounce nugget. That looks like 4 to 5 inches. Our ounce of fine gold. It's not picking it up at all. Okay, same thing though. We put our nail with our fine gold. Now we can pick it up. Okay, let's head back in the house. If you're down on the river and you're metal detecting the crevices, it really doesn't matter what the target is, as long as it's not aluminum. But if you have iron or lead or whatever and it's in a crevice, that's where the heavies are falling. So you go ahead and dig that out and pan it, and you'll pick up the fine gold that's in there with it. Now, I get questions a lot. People, they're working old tailing pits or whatever, and there's junk everywhere. And it has not been deposited by the river. It's been dropped while they were working the pit. Well, a lot of people think you should just ignore those also. I can't tell you how many times that I've found a piece of gold by removing the nail that was blocking out the gold, because the iron's a much stronger target. People have went over that, said, it's a nail, and moved on. Well, when I removed the nail, it exposed a piece of gold that was right next to the nail that was being covered up. So, dig every target, I guarantee you'll find more gold. Okay, well, hopefully I haven't confused you more than I've helped. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll try to answer them. But one thing I want to make clear, I get a lot of questions on what is the best detector to get. I can't answer that question because it depends on where you're at, the type of ground you have, the area you're going to be searching. Good example. If I'm going to go down to the river and I'm going to work nothing but bedrock, I know I can buy a good used gold bug tube for $400 and I can find gold. You can buy a brand new Minelab 7000 and you're not going to find any more gold than that gold bug will down on the river, unless the bedrock is real bad. But my point is, detectors have specific areas they're really good at. Like if I'm going to go out in the desert, work the alluvial fan, oh yeah, I'd like to have that 7000. Down on the river, my 2300 is perfect. Your soil makes a big difference on what detector you want. The type of gold, the size of the gold in your area makes a big difference. So my best suggestion is, join a local mining club. Go up to the river. When you see somebody, especially if they got a metal detector, go talk to them. Find out what the people are using in your area, and then find out if they're finding gold and if they're enjoying their machine. I can't tell you how many times I've been up in the hills, people, they don't like their machine. It's driving them crazy. Well, that might not be the machine for that area. Okay, well, food for thought. So, I'm out of here. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video.